So for 32, I already set up the grid. We're going to multiply. So you get 8x to the fourth, negative 40x squared, negative 32x. The next row, 3 times x cubed is 3x cubed, negative 15x minus 12. So the like terms right here are these two right here, the only ones. Okay? So starting with the highest degree, we get 8x to the fourth, and then 3x cubed, and then negative 40x squared. Negative 15 and negative 32 is negative 47 minus 12. And that would be the answer right there. So whenever you factor, you always look for greatest common factors. And so on 33, the greatest common factor is x squared. So you factor that out. And you're left with 4x squared minus 17x minus 42. And so now we're looking for factors of, well, the way I did it this time, or you could always just multiply these two right here, and you get negative 168. So we're looking for factors of negative 168 that add up to negative 17, and that combination is negative 24 and 7. So when you multiply negative 24 times 7, you get negative 168. And when you add them, you get negative 17. So that's what you put in your either your x factor or your box. So this is 4x squared, negative 24x, 7x, and negative 42. So I'm going to factor out the 4x from the top row, 4x. So that means that this becomes x right here, and then negative 6 right here, and then x times what gives you 7x, that's 7, and then 7 times negative 6 is negative 42, so it's correct. So now I'm going to write the answer. Don't forget to bring down the x squared that you factored out at the beginning, and so you get x minus 6, 4x plus 7. So number 34, 35, notice how they look very similar, but the key phrase here is over the integers, and here completely. So let's see, we have two difference of squares on 34. The square root of 625 is 25. And so this would be the initial factored form, okay? But 25x squared minus 4, this one right here is another difference of squares, so you have to factor it more. This is not difference of squares, and because it's over the integers, this one stays as it is. We're not going to change it. So it's going to be 25x squared plus 4, but this one is 5x plus 2 and 5x minus 2, like that. And that's it. For 35, the square root of 16x to the fourth is 4x squared. 256, the square root of that is 16. And then we got 4x squared minus 16. But because this one says we're going to factor completely, this first factor right here we could factor with imaginary numbers. Okay? So this is how that works. You would treat it like a difference of squares, 2x plus 4, but then the I, then 2x minus 4i. For the next one, this one right here, this is going to be 2x plus 4, 2x minus 4. So just real quick, if you don't remember why the I comes into play, remember that when you solve for 0, this becomes 4x squared equals negative 16. And, oh, I could have factored out a 16, huh? I'll do that right now. And so divide by negative 4, so x squared equals negative 4. Take the square root, and x is plus or minus 2i. Now, I could have factored a 16 from the very beginning. I didn't. It was an oversight on my part. So let me erase this and then just factor out the 16, because it says factor completely, so this would be more accurate. So let me see. 16, like that. And so then we get 16 times x squared plus 4, x squared minus 4. So now when you break this down, it's 16 x plus 2y, and that's where this comes in, right? X minus 2y. And then the second factor, this one, is x plus 2, x minus 2. So this whole thing here, that's the answer. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to factor out here is the 2x. And so I'm left with the sum of two cubes. So it's 2x, whoops. And for the trinomial, remember that it's you square the first term, you change the sign because it's SOAP, the opposite. You multiply the 3 and the x, so you get 3x. And then the second sign is always positive, and you square the 3, which is 9. Okay, that's one way of factoring sum of cubes. The next one, 37. Oh, and by the way, on 36, if you wanted to, you could have done this. But I know some of you guys don't need this anymore. And so you pair it up. And that's how you get the terms right here. Okay? For the next one, I'm going to factor out, let's see, 2x again. That's going to give me 8x cubed minus 125. This time it's the difference of two cubes. And so the cube root of 8x cubed is 3x. The cube root of 125 is 5. And so we're using again, you don't have to do this, but I'll just do this for those that still need this step. So we're going to pair it up, pair it up, pair it up. So this gives you 9x squared, then 15x, then 25. And for SOAP, it's same sign, opposite sign, always positive. And that's the answer. For 38, you can factor by grouping. Check to see if it factors that way. So I'm going to do the 2 by 2. So the greatest common factor in the first row is x squared. Then x times x squared is x cubed. 7 times x squared is 7x squared. And then 5 times x is 5x. And 7 times 5 is 35, so it checks out. So I have x squared plus 5 and x plus 7. And that's as far as we go because it says over the integers, that means that I'm not going to break this down anymore. I just leave it as it is. Now on 39, I notice it's a trinomial, a quadratic. I also notice that this is a perfect square and this is a perfect square. So the square root of 9x squared is 3x. The square root of 16 is 4. And 3 times 4 is 12. And when you double 12, you get 24. So then that tells you that you could factor it like it is a perfect square trinomial. And you could factor it like that. And the reason that you have a negative there is because of that negative right there. So first off, we're going to write p of x in standard form. So that means from the highest degree to the constant, if it has one. So this would be, p of x equals x cubed plus 3x squared minus 36x minus 108. Okay. We want to check if x plus 3 is a factor with synthetic division. So remember, we change the sign, so it's minus 3. 1, 3, negative 36, negative 108. Okay, so bring down the 1. Negative 3 is 0. 0, negative 36, and this is positive 108, so it's 0. So yes, it is a factor. It says write the new p of x. I'll just put it equal like that. So it's x plus 3 and x squared minus 36. And where I got that was from here. Okay. Now it says write p of x in factored form. Well, x squared minus 36 is difference of squares. So that means that we're going to have p of x equals x plus 3 and x plus 6 times x minus 6. And there it is. Find the zeros of p of x. The zeros are negative 3 and plus or minus 6 because of the the positive 6 and the negative 6 in the parentheses. The end behavior, because the leading term is x cubed, then it has a down up. So on the left side it goes down, and on the right side it goes up. Okay. The multiplicity of each of the zeros, notice that each of the exponents here is 1, so it's odd. So the multiplicity is odd for each one. And so now we're going to graph. So negative 3, negative 6, and positive 6. It's down up, so it's going to go like that and like that. Okay? And then this number right here would be negative 108. And of course it's not drawn to scale, but that's the value of the y-intercept. Okay, I'm setting up 41. When you have a lot of numbers to check, it's easier, or it saves you space at least if you write it like this. So we bring down the 3, and then 3 times negative 4 is negative 12. Negative 12 minus 8 is negative 20. Then negative 4 times negative 20 is 80. 80 plus 3 is 83. Then 83 times negative 4 is negative 332. So right off the bat, I could even stop right now. There's no way that negative 4 works. So let me move on to the next number, which is 2. You bring down the 3. 3 times 2 is 6. 6 minus 8 is negative 2. 2 times negative 2, negative 4. Plus 3 is negative 1. 2 times negative 1 is negative 2. Negative 2 minus 1 is negative 3. And 2 times negative 3 is negative 6. Let's see, 3, negative 2. Okay, and then that gives me negative 6 minus 2, negative 8. And the instructions are which one gives you negative 8 as a remainder. There's your negative 8, and so this is the answer. For 42, we're going to bring down the 3. 3 times 2 is 6. 6 minus 3 is 3. 3 times 2 is 6, and it gives you negative 10, and then negative 20, and then 0. So this means 3x squared plus 3x minus 10, so that would be this one right here. On 43, I can factor out an x. Like that. So I know that that 0 is a 0 for the polynomial. So I know it's between this one, or this one. Notice how all the choices have negative 4. So I'm going to divide out negative 4 into the 3, 2, 0 for the placeholder like that. And bring down the 1, negative 4, that's 2, negative 8, and then 32, 0. So negative 4 is a 0, and so x squared plus 2x minus 8x factors like this: x plus 4, x minus 2. So then I have another negative 4 right here, right? Oops. Sorry, I have another negative 4 right here, so that means I have 2 negative 4s. And a positive 2, so that means that this has to be the answer. Because this one tells me the multiplicity of negative 4 is 2, then I have a positive 2 and a 0. So 43 is the answer.